Hello friend, you seem to have reached the Wilson stage of the zombie apocalypse and for whatever reason have chosen to draw a face on a totally normal onion. In return for granting me life, I'll try my best to help you survive just a little longer in the world of Project Zomboid. In this video, I will teach you some of the basic fighting techniques against your undead neighbors. Combat is a major part of Project Zomboid, and there's a few things you can do without playing the game that can help you master it. First, I highly recommend going into your options menu and turning on aim outline to any weapon. This ensures that you'll know when you're going to hit with a melee weapon, since it can be hard to tell for anyone unfamiliar with the isometric style of the game. Another thing you can do is to remap the ever-traumatizing shout key from Q to another keybind, or remove it altogether until you become accustomed to how the game mechanics work. I'll cover professions in a later video, so please look forward to that when I get around to it. For now, we'll have our good friend Greg from accounting show us how he's learned how to fight in the zombie apocalypse. One of the keys to fighting effectively is to understand how the isometric cursor works when you aim anywhere on the ground around your survivor by using right mouse button. Think of the line as the entirety of a Z from head to toe and the circle as the actual tile they would occupy. I've seen people go to their untimely demise by putting the actual mouse cursor on the zombie instead of lining up the zombie with a line and circle, whiffing and turning into the main meal for the neighborhood barbecue. You should also take note of the 3 squares at the bottom of your screen. In most cases, by default, you'll have 3 weapon slots. 1 is for the weapon on your back, 2 and 3 are for the left and right sides of your belt, and if you happen to come across a handgun, you'll need to find a holster for it, and that will bring you to a 4th slot, or 5 if you find a double holster. Where you can hotkey a weapon varies from weapon to weapon. You can press I or click on the box icon on the left to open up your inventory. From your inventory, you can right-click on items to bring up a context menu with various options. To loot items, you can drag things into your main inventory, double-click on them, or use the previously mentioned context menu. In addition to the context menu, you can also right-click on a weapon slot or hold down the weapon hotkey, which will show you what you can equip from your main inventory. You can also unequip items the same way. Now, once you hopefully have something to defend yourself with and become acclimated to aiming and moving while doing so, we're going to have Greg here show us how to put it all together. Take note of how he's always moving as well as the cursor lineup and a few other things I'd like to discuss. Great work, Greg. Good footwork, careful distancing, and making sure that no sneaky zombies come up and make a surprise meal out of you. If you noticed while he was fighting the new neighbors, he had forgotten to equip any sort of weapon before starting the fight. Thankfully, Greg has experience in pushing the file cart in his former place of employment and used that strength to shove a zombie over. If you happen to be unarmed, you will shove zombies by default, or you can use a space key to initiate a shove if you're armed with a weapon. This is also the same key to stomp a zombie with your foot if you want to preserve weapon durability. Remember how the cursor works and use the circle as a guide to aim at the downed zombie's head. Another thing to note is that sometimes he started swinging just a split second before the green outline showed up on the zombie. While the green outline guarantees a melee weapon is going to hit if you swing at that instant, there is a wind-up animation before the actual hit itself registers. There is also a sweet spot mechanic that deals more damage to zombies if you hit them at the very end of the weapon, which is more apparent with longer weapons like a shovel or baseball bat. That being said, the green aim outline should be more of a guide to help you find that timing just between the attack wind-up animation and the actual hit for that increase in damage. This will vary from weapon to weapon, so experiment accordingly. Greg also showed a good habit of scanning for any zombies that might come from the sides or behind him. Since this is an isometric game, vision is simulated by a cone in the direction your survivor is facing, as well as a small radius around you to simulate the character's hearing/feeling senses. This small radius around you can be affected by traits which I'll cover in a later video. If you do, however, see a zombie appear from behind or the sides, try to aim your survivor in a relatively clear direction, release the right mouse button, and hold down left shift to jog for a short distance. If there are any zombies in the way, you can at least shove them aside while you jog, but don't rely on this too much as there is a chance to trip, especially if there are several zombies in that path. If you are also observant of how the zombies were moving, you can see that they are mostly in a staggered single file line. This is extremely important, especially in the early stages of the game where you don't have high weapon skills. It gets dangerous if there are two zombies shoulder to shoulder, as there is that much higher chance to get grabbed or injured by one or the other if you swing a weapon at that point. Always try to make it to where it's just one zombie taking the lead. If they're getting grouped up, make some distance by either jogging a little or turning your character and walking for some time, as the zombies are slower than the player character's walking speed by default. Now, if you were to find yourself in a position where there are too many to handle, retreat and fight another day. The best way to go about this is to carefully corral the zombies into a nice ball. This will be scary at first, but remember that you're faster than they are. Break line of sight from them by jogging around corners of buildings, going through a building while closing the door behind you, or going past some trees. All of these should be accompanied by jogging while in sneak mode, which is C by default, at the end of your maneuver. This is safest if you know you've cleared a good path, and remember to find an open path through the trees if you can. Trees have a chance of injuring you if you go directly through them. To end the basics of combat against the undead, here's a few more tidbits of advice to help you survive to fight another day. Don't try to fight more than 2 zombies unarmed if you're just starting out. It's better to run and recuperate at that point. Always try to fight in a place that you're comfortable fighting in. Take it slow, especially in an unfamiliar or low visibility area. Do your best to remain calm and don't get overconfident. It only takes one bad injury for things to go south. Be on the lookout for a funny little circle in the upper right that looks like a set of lungs. This is an indicator of your stamina. I recommend retreating and either resting on a bench, chair, car, or sitting on the ground at a safe enough distance until the icon disappears for a little while. If playing solo, absolutely retreat if you're getting the tiredness moodle, as it's a massive debuff to damage and stamina regeneration, and it'll only get worse from there. Moodle. That's going to be a topic I'll go in depth with in a later video, so please look forward to it. In the next video, I'll be covering other combat aspects more specific to base defense and the use of the environment. Until next time, friend. Now show your undead neighbors a new one too you've learned. Leave a comment, like, dislike, subscribe if you want. Either way, I hope you have a wonderful day.